questions.
It's Bring It On time for you. Okay, Pat, this is Paula who says, my husband walked out on me and our 2 children 13 years ago. I've been waiting and trusting God to bring the right man into our lives. I've thanked God and praised him all along, but after all this time, I'm worried I've missed God and my best years are behind me. You got any advice for a lonely and discouraged lady?
Well, first of all, you're not, the best years haven't left you. There's more coming. But I do think that if you want to fish, you've got to fish where the fish are. You don't go out into the Sahara.
That's very biblical.
Yeah. You go to the Sahara Desert and say, Lord, how come I'm not catching any fish?
Yeah.
Go where unattached men are. I mean, there are youth groups, there are singles groups, there are, you know, church groups and things like that, and there are other places where they're organized mixtures of people who share your point of view and your faith. And God has somebody for you.
Yeah. Okay, this is Nate who says, in the biblical account, Ananias and his wife Sapphira sold a piece of property. Rather than give the entire sale proceeds to the early church, they pretended that they did and kept some money for themselves. Peter said they lied to the Holy Spirit and both of them died. Please explain the seemingly harsh result. Later, when Simon saw that the Spirit was given at the laying on of the apostles' hands, he offered them money. He didn't die.
Well, Simon wasn't a disciple, he wasn't a member, but here's the deal. At the inception of the church, that's the beginning of the church, and impurity that has come into the beginning will spread like a cancer throughout the whole thing. Later on, when the church is formed and it's operating and they run into a fortune teller, I mean, that's a different matter. But the harshness came so that the early Christians would know you cannot lie to the Holy Spirit. You cannot use deception in the very beginning of this church. It can't have that evil spirit. And so it seemed harsh. I mean, you know, he dropped dead, and Peter used that statement, the feet of those who carried your husband out are at the door waiting for you, bang. But they both lied. They had a chance to
yes, that's the key.
clarify.
They lied. Simon was just ready to pay for it if he could get it, but he didn't say he'd.
That's right.
You know, there was a deception to God there. Okay, this is Amanda who says, I was wondering if the chaos in the Middle East has anything to do with Revelation. What are your thoughts?
I think everything having to do in the Middle East and Israel has to do with what's going on in the Bible. It's biblical. It's in Revelation. Israel is God's time clock. And chaos in the Middle East that would be against Israel is fulfilling prophecy, and not necessarily every word in Revelation, but in terms of prophecies like Zacharias and others, there's no doubt that the nations of the earth are joining against Israel, and that is biblical. What's happening there is setting up God's plan and purposes.
Okay, this is Barbara Pat who says, I know that doctors are part of God's healing miracles, but I've been trying for a few years to trust God for a healing of my hip. I'm 69 years old and basically have nothing left of my hip except one little part of the ball joint. I need a creative miracle and thought God was going to heal me. I've had several dreams about being able to walk. The pain interferes with my faith. Do you have any insights?
Oh. You know, you said God uses doctors, and he does. I had a deteriorating knee. It was very, very painful. It was so bad I could hardly walk. It was a deteriorating joint. I had been jogging a long time, and it just wore the thing down. Hip joints are the same thing. It's a joint. And what you're asking for is a creative miracle, which is a very difficult thing. It's not a healing. You're asking God to reform that. I went to a man in Chicago whose name is Richard Berger. He is absolutely the finest knee and hip man, I think, in the country. He's incredible. He's a wonderful human being and very skilled. And he could give you a new hip joint in a matter of an hour or so. With me, I was walking upstairs with my new knee.
Well, they get you right up, don't they, when you have that done?
Oh, yeah, but you're not, I mean, the thought that you could walk around, it used to take, you know, 5 or 6 months. I was riding a horse 7 days after surgery.
Wow.
So they can do that, and why suffer? You've got a lot of life ahead of you. But that is one. There are others who do this kind of work, but he probably is as good as they come. So, Richard Berger, I'm sure he'll appreciate that. He's probably got more clients, patients he knows what to do with. But
Well, if he does a good job, that's a good thing.
he's a wonderful man, and he's extremely skilled. All right.
Well, that's all the time we have today for your questions, but we do thank you.